Today I'm going to show you how I make slimline pens, and stick with me till the end of the video because I got a good surprise for you. So I've got some blanks here. We're going to make some pens. I've got some fun line kits that we're going to make. They are slimline style pen. They come with directions and everything, each one of these kits. I'll go ahead and link down in the bottom all the tools and all the kits that I use, as well as the wood blocks, so you can check them out if you want. But what I like to do is I like to separate these out into their individual components. I don't like to open these until I'm ready to use them. I like to still kind of keep them organized in the order that they're going in. That way you know which way they're going. And then, of course, the ink refill just goes in there. So that's the order in which they'll be assembled. And the first step we need to do is we need to drill a hole for the brass tubes to go in our wood blocks. So one thing that you'll need is a pen mill. This basically bores out and flushes up the tube. You'll see that a little bit later. This is the bit. It's a 7mm bit for these kits to drill the hole into here, in which I'll do that. But the first thing we want to do is we basically want to cut these blanks in half, or at least some of them. And then what I'll do is I'll drill this hole with this bit, and then we'll glue in these brass tubes in the blanks with some CA glue. Now what you want to do for your pen blanks, what I like to do is I don't like to just divide it in half, because that's a lot of drilling on each side, as you can see. So what I like to do is I like to leave just a little bit, maybe a 1/16 of an inch. Put a mark right there like that. My blank will be long enough. Then take the other one and do kind of the same thing. So really my two tubes should fit here, plus my bandsaw curve. We don't want to cut too much off, so we're going to cut on that side of the line, dead center. Now what we'll do, we'll double check our tube. As you can see, this tube will fit with just a little bit cut off. We will pair these guys up so we know which way they are. And the way I like to do that, even though we'll end up sanding these off, I'm going to put a mark like that across here. Now what we need to do is we need to drill these with this bit. And the easiest way to do that is at the table saw. Gotcha. At the drill press. And I've made this little jig here that holds this at an angle like that, and you just clamp this up. Makes it a lot easier to hold. Now, because my drill press does not have a long throw, as you can see, it doesn't quite go through all the way. I may have to readjust this as I'm doing it. It's just something that I'll have to do. So what you want to do is you want to center it up, turn it on, and drill it out. Now, before you glue these in, what you want to do is you want to scuff up these tubes so that the CA glue will grip to them. And make sure to scuff it up all the way around. I'm just using some 320 grit sandpaper. So you can see it got rid of all the nice shine out of it. You can also, twist it through like that. And the next step I like to do is I like to take some denatured alcohol and just clean these off so I get rid of all the dust that's on them. Now what we need to do is take our pen blanks and we just jam these in. Not really, because if you just jam them right in, you're not going to actually get them to seat. Now what I like to do, after we've sanded those down, take some medium CA glue. You don't want to really get any inside here, but I like to put CA glue around this so it's on here, kind of liberal. And we just take it, we twist it as we drive it in. So we're making sure we get plenty of glue all the way around it. I'm going to sink it in just a little bit beyond the end, not too much, because any little bit you sink, you have to drive back out. The pen mill will clean out really any that we get in there. We want to get it back in there really good, but it's pretty much a one-way street. Just kind of twist it around. Go ahead and let those dry. Okay, it's the next day. All of our blanks have the CA glue has dried up nice and solid, with the exception of this one, which I'm filling in a little knot that fell out. I'm hoping that it won't matter, but you never know. So I'm going to fill it in. We'll turn it down and see how it turns out. So in order to turn a pen, you'll need a pen mandrel. Depending on the type of pen kit you're turning, you'll need different size bushings. I have bushings for a slim kit. The way I like to load these is I put a spare bushing on here so that I'm away from my live end. I put a bushing that's going to ride up against my stock, which in the case of this, it's important to keep your grain oriented the same. Makes it easier for assembling. You put a bushing in the middle, put your other piece on, another bushing, a spare bushing for me, and then a screw end on here. Generally, you want to keep these oriented the same. It makes it a lot easier to line up. As you can see right here, my grain's all oriented the same. And as I'm turning this, I don't get too close to this bushing or this bushing, but the other bushings I can get close to. I just don't want to wear them down too much because it will affect the size. If you get a kit, you need to get the bushings that go with it. Otherwise, your ends won't be the right size. Then we'll rub it back off and polish it up. Putting some pressure on it to put a little heat friction. So now as part of the finished part, we're going to take some Renaissance wax. Doesn't take a lot, just a little bit. We'll just rub it on. Like 2200. You can see here it's really shiny. It's got that glistening coming off of it. Nice and shiny. So that's all we need to do for the spindling. Now we'll assemble the pen. So now that we have our pen turned, we're ready to take it off the mandrel. And since I use CA glue, it may have actually solidified on there and glued itself to it, the bushing. We'll find out here, and if it did, we'll just tap it off with this. Because you don't want to bend it or whatever, because that can bend the brass tube, it can break your wood. But the easiest way to get it off, as you can see, is it's pretty much just solidified on here, is just take and give it a good wrap like that, and that will break the glue bond to the bushings. And if it's still attached to one, then you just try to hit it flat. Our individual pieces separated from our bushings, thanks to my homemade anvil there. Now the next thing that is good to do is just take a piece of sandpaper, because this can have some sharp edges from the glue, and just put it flat on here and just kind of rub it across like this. And that will break those edges down, so it's not as hard or crisp from the glue. Okay, so I do that on both sides. Now to get it back flat to where the bushing is, or where the brass tube is instead of the glue. And now we'll go about assembling. And unfortunately, what I did not do is I didn't keep these straight, but I'm pretty sure that this is this side. So I'll have to realign the grain pattern, which should be just like that. Now I don't have a pen press, so what I have to do is I have to just use my drill press, and I have a special rod that I have made and used over the years for various things. So the first thing I want to do is push in the tip and make sure it's straight going into the brass end. Just snug it up in there like that. And then what you'll want to do is you want to push the transmission part in there. And this you want to push right up to where this bevel piece is, or where this kind of notch is here. Again, pushing it just ever so slightly. You don't want to push it too much. Then what you want to do is you want to take your pen refill, put it in there, and screw it down, and basically work the transmission. So here you can see it retracts all the way in and sticks out, which is about the right distance I want it. So this side is essentially done. So now what we'll do is we'll take and we'll put the end in this side. To do that, you put the clip in, the end, and we'll do the exact same thing again. Just run it down, taking care to make sure it's pretty straight up and down as we push it in. Because once it's pushed in, it's hard to get out. They do make a kit to push them back out. Now what we do is we simply put the brass ring on here, or your centering ring. Put this on here, try to line up the pieces so that they match. And push them together, just like that. And then you have a nice pen. So I do want to compare both these pens. This one here has a little bit of a lip here because I did not get that quite turned down, so it doesn't quite match the ring. This other one I did, which is more straight, it is much smoother because this one I did pretty good at it, but it's got a little bit of a lip here. But they still work really well. Now, I want to show you the difference between these two pens. This one, I did not put CA glue in, and you can see here by the shine. This one is really super shiny, as you can see, and that is the CA glue helps with that shine. And it's not just the contour that makes it look a little nicer or anything. It's that CA glue which seals it up, because I did the exact same finish on this. A couple of coats of Meguiar's and then a couple of coats of Renaissance wax. But as you can see with that CA glue, it makes it so much shiny. Now you've seen me make two pens. You've seen me make this one and you've seen me make this one and the results of each one. You can get blanks or make your own blanks. This is an acrylic pen kit. It has a bunch of blanks in it. This is just various hardwood blanks, and these are the actual Slimline and Funline kit. You can also take scrap wood, as long as it's stable, and turn those down for various purposes, as long as they're long enough to support the metal tube. About 5.5 inches is about as small as you want to go. This you need to have about 60 degrees or hotter to work with, otherwise the plastic can chip out. This you can pretty much do at any temperature. So I'm going to turn a few more of these, so we have a few more of these. Here are all the pens that I've made. Throughout this entire video, you should have seen each one of these pens appear at least once with a number on them. If you would like to win one of these pens, go ahead and comment below the number of the pen you want. So hopefully you watched the entire video to know which number, because otherwise you're just randomly guessing. When we hit 1,000 users, I will give away one of those pens.